In his 1954 essay A Certain Tendency in French Cinema, French director François Truffaut developed the phrase author theory to describe the idea that directors are the authors of their films. As he said, there are no good and bad movies, only good and bad directors. Two directors, Alfred Hitchcock and Christopher Nolan, are considered as grand authors due to their unique techniques and narratives. Particularly in their films Vertigo and Inception, both portray their signature styles while conveying similar ideas. Vertigo takes place in the post-war 1950s America during a time of economic and social development, which translated as prosperity in middle class. New cars, clothing, furniture, and many more goods were available to more people than ever. On the other hand, in Inception, there are major technological advancements compared to the 1950s. It depicts the 21st century's capitalist culture with major businesses competing against each other to lead a monopoly power. Produced 52 years apart, the films portray different socio-economical and technological culture contexts. The catalog of tools and techniques that were available to the directors imposed the way they construct their films. Hitchcock's works are often thrillers with twisted endings and complicated characters. His signature style emerges from the way he builds up suspense, using the camera as if it is an additional character in the movie. Through his innovative use of camera work, he manipulates the feelings of the audience and heightens the tension. His shots also connote a recurring theme of cinematic voyeurism. He treats the camera as if it's the viewer's eye. Hence, he lets the audience know more than the characters to feel anxiety about the outcome of the events, and this creates suspense. Also, with his author style, Hitchcock created a unique rule which suggests that the size of any object in the frame must be proportional to its importance to the story at that moment. Hitchcock frequently works with composer Bernard Herrmann to create original scores. Similarly, Nolan's psychological thrillers with puzzling endings and complex narrative plots deal with his recurring theme of self-deception, subjective experiences, obsession, and distorted time perception. His bleak color palettes and dark shadings allow him to draw the background of emotional landscapes of the characters and increase the dramatic effect. With his non-linear storytelling, he manipulates the way the audience experiences the story, creating a maze that associates the viewer with the perspectives of the characters. Hence, unlike Hitchcock's films, Nolan's viewer don't know more than the characters, while the story is driven forward with this first-person narration. Like Hitchcock, Nolan generally works with composer Hans Zimmer to underscore the dramatic atmosphere of his films. One more important similarity between Vertigo and Inception is that they're both influenced by film noir, a major genre on American crime dramas of 1940s to 50s. Hitchcock is defined as an unconventional noir director. Nolan, starting with his debut following, and his very Hitchcock-like short film Doodlebug, is apparently influenced by the noir style. Both Vertigo and Inception conform to the standard noir conventions: the anti-hero protagonist who is a victim of a specific circumstance, the dominant roles of femme fatale, urban locations, complex plots, thorny characters, themes of guilt, sacrifice, and obsession. The fact that both films depict the same conventions but in different ways make them particularly open for comparison. For these reasons, I believe that Vertigo and Inception are strong choices to compare and contrast for this study. The first piece of noir convention that I will analyze is the femme fatale, a mysterious and dangerous woman who attracts men with her charm. Both Scotty and Cobb become fatally obsessed with their deadly femme fatale lovers. However, unlike classical noirs, Hitchcock and Nolan illustrate the haunted protagonist by those women through certain motives. In Vertigo, Scotty is enthralled by beautiful Madeline even after her death. Hitchcock portrays Madeline's influence on Scotty with the motif of spirals. From the opening titles to Madeline's hair bun, from the geometry of stairways to the motion of the camera, Hitchcock places these swirly shapes throughout the film to represent the dizzying chaos of falling in love into which Madeline leads Scotty. Similarly, Mel is the femme fatale in Inception. As Nolan notes, the key noir reference is the character Mel. It was very important to me that she came across as a classical femme fatale. In the film, Cobb cannot let Mal go, so he makes up a reality believing that Mal may continue to live in his own subconscious. However, Mal almost acts like a malfunction, destructing Cobb's sanity. Following Hitchcock, Nolan represents the hypnotizing chaos in Cobb's mind with the symbol of a spinning top, which belongs to Mal. Cobb trusts this top to determine whether he is dreaming or not, and it exposes his feelings of guilt and regret as well as the divergence of his reality. However, unlike Hitchcock, who shows the pattern of spirals in various forms, Nolan uses the spinning top as an insert with a single implication and enhances its significance. The use of insert is something that Nolan maintains in all of his films. He creates narrative connections with definite objects to convey specific themes, like themes of obsession, regret, and guilt in Inception. The next noir convention that I will analyze is the anti-hero protagonist. In film noirs, these protagonists do not possess the typical heroic characteristics. As Alan Silver and James Orsini notes, noir protagonists often escape some past burden, sometimes a traumatic incident from their past. In Vertigo and Inception, Scotty and Cobb feel regret because they couldn't prevent their loved ones from jumping to her death, and they attempt to reconstruct the woman in fake ways. Both directors depict the toxic mental health of protagonists through special camera angles. Hitchcock displays Scotty's unstable psychology with a revolutionary nightmare scene. Hitchcock initially uses close-ups to show the uncomfortable facial expressions of Scotty, and uses flashes of bright green-red colors to reflect his stormy emotions. With the animation of flowers hurtling towards the screen, Hitchcock is able to build up suspense, and with extreme close-ups, he makes the audience feel uneasy. Hitchcock also portrays Scotty falling into a grave with a point-of-view shot, in which the camera tilts down to the grave. These scenes do not only augment the tension, but also reveal that in his subconscious, Scotty has a desire to join Madeline in her death. Similarly, internal struggles and self-deception are recurring themes in Nolan's films. His protagonists are their own antagonists. They lie to themselves, and often feel emotional tides and guilts. Nolan portrays Cobb's disruptive psychology with a surreal extreme wide shot, one of his trademark techniques. The shot establishes the landscape, engulfing the characters with their surroundings. The vast buildings and endless ocean symbolize Cobb's inner world. The buildings collapse, just like Cobb's subconscious. Moreover, Nolan doesn't rely on CGI, using FX shots by combining live action with digital animation. Hence, even though the films arise from different technological cultural contexts, Hitchcock uses one of the first CGIs in film history to intentionally make his film surreal, whereas Nolan, even though he has access to great CGI technologies, intentionally makes his films feel real. Another key aspect of noir films is their special use of architecture and space. Both Hitchcock and Nolan play with the architectural impressions through camera movements. In Vertigo, Hitchcock makes use of architecture to heighten the suspense when the action reaches its peak point in the bell tower. When Scotty climbs on the top, his vertigo is emphasized with a revolutionary camera technique called the dolly zoom. Combined with the high-angle shot, the dolly zoom, or the vertigo effect, provides the viewer to look through Scotty's eyes, creating an illusion with a constant perspective distortion. This generates a sense of delusion, drawing the audience into the character's state of mind. Additionally, Hitchcock augments the tension of the scene by suggesting that the main character, who's supposed to be the hero, is growing weaker. As Martin Scorsese notes, all the qualities that we think heroes are supposed to possess desert Jimmy Stewart's character little by little, until he is left alone on that church tower with the bells tolling behind him and nothing to show but his humanity. Similarly, in Inception, Nolan makes use of architectural space to intensify the tension. Unlike Hitchcock, who moves the camera in a two-dimension, Nolan uses the three-dimensional space. Furthermore, Nolan seems to be inspired by the Hitchcock stair shots, as he picks Penrose stairs to demonstrate the importance of paradoxical architecture in the design of dream places. In the fighting scene, the stairs are featured as a key architectural element. Just like Hitchcock, Nolan initially uses a high camera angle, and afterwards he uses a crane shot where the crane moves down but gradually looks up to reveal the optical illusion. He uses this innovative technique not only to expose the impossible nature of dreams against physical laws, but also to signify the underlying danger that the character is in. Classical themes in noir films are obsession, guilt, depression, and moral corruption. In Vertigo and Inception, the directors add one more major theme. It is the blur of subjective versus objective reality. In both films, the fine line between fact and fiction is separated with the use of colors. In Vertigo, Hitchcock chooses a complementary color palette to illustrate Scotty's divergence from rationality. Madeline is introduced with a green dress where the shade of green has connotations of mystery and fairy tale. When Scotty brings Madeline to his house, he wears a green sweater instead of red, because at this point he has already fallen in love and becomes the slave of his desires to engage with her fully. Also, when Judy emerges from the bathroom, she is surrounded by a green fog filter, which gives her a ghost-like quality. The green filter also suggests that Scotty accomplished to make his fantasies come true. As Hitchcock notes, after focusing on Stewart, who's staring at her, we go back to the girl, but now we slip that soft effect away to indicate that Stewart's come back to reality. In Inception, unlike Hitchcock's complementary color scheme, Nolan uses an analogous color palette, with colors like gray, brown, dark blue that all add to the heaviness of noir-type dramatic atmosphere. However, in scenes where Cobb's children are involved, warm golden hues contrast with the dark and gloomy colors seen in the rest of the film. Here, Nolan represents Cobb's attempts to escape from his own subconscious, where Mel entraps him. Yellow represents hope, optimism, and expectation. Thus, his hopes to reunite with his kids are what encourages him to get free of this entrapment. With the natural high-key reverse lighting, Nolan gives the children a divine ghost-like quality, and intentionally portrays the children as distant memories in Cobb's mind, suggesting that they're neither real nor a dream, and blurs the border between subjective and objective realities. Though they arise from different technological culture contexts, both directors effectively wield the accessible technologies. They both shape the same noir conventions in their own ways through the use of motifs, camera angles, camera movements, and colors. Hence, they demonstrate their unique individual styles as two of the most influential authors.